This morning's guest lost his leg to cancer, but he lost his heart to the children of India. Who is he? You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Design It, custom design services and retail furniture here at the former Waccamaw Outlet Mall on Highway 501 in Myrtle Beach. We're focused on the recent Indian Auto Rickshaw Challenge, Mumbai Rally Express 2007, and we're visiting with one of the rally participants, local attorney Jay Bultz. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, Greg.
It's so exciting to get you in after the event. Of course, we were with you out at HTC up there in Carolina Forest leading up to the event before you and your brother left for India. Now y'all are back, and we had a great time to rally around and talk about it.
Yeah, I've been back for about 2 weeks now, and I'm still trying to recover. But it was just words. It's hard to find words to describe this thing, but it was an amazing adventure, and as well as a great humanitarian effort as well, which we focused on the last time we spoke. But it's an auto rickshaw challenge, and it was challenging. I mean, it was a survival event. We were over there, and we went, a couple thousand miles across India, over the mountains, through the rainforest, along the coast. And every day was challenging.
Did you say a couple of thousand miles?
Kilometers, yeah, several thousand kilometers, yes.
Wow.
And we rode in raced auto rickshaws. Each team had an auto rickshaw. There were 32 teams from around the world, and we were one of the American teams. There were teams from Hungary and from Canada and from France and from a number of different, Ireland, Great Britain, a bunch of different places. And an auto rickshaw is a very popular vehicle over in that part of the world.
In India, really?
Yeah, and especially in India. In fact, it was a 50th anniversary of the auto rickshaw, this particular design. And it's a three-wheel vehicle that's used as a taxi cab, and has a two-cycle engine in it, and it's driven like a motorcycle, with the handlebars and the steering and everything, and the clutch and the gears and the whole bit. And it's a very sturdy machine, but a very temperamental machine.
Had you ever been in one prior to going
over? No, I've only seen pictures.
Oh, come on.
The day before the flag off for the rally, we were supposed to have a chance to test drive these things.
Right.
But they didn't have them ready in time, and so we didn't get a chance to do that. So we all went out that evening, and they're everywhere. So I hired one of them, and I convinced the taxi driver. He couldn't speak English, but I managed to convince him that what I was doing, I was showing him my tag, my identification tag, and he understood what we were doing.
Right.
So he let me drive his around. So I got a little bit of experience driving around a parking lot.
The liability would have been on that.
Yeah, I know.
What's your insurance policy cover?
Well, I don't know if they have insurance in India. There are no road rules in India. It's survival of the fittest and the strongest. It's just I had read and had heard that driving in India is the most dangerous place to drive in the world, and it is. It really is. There are more accidents and deaths and injuries in India from the roadways than any other place in the world, and it's just insane. I mean, it was just nerve-wracking, and you had to be just right on top of what you were doing and thinking 1,000 miles an hour to negotiate giant trucks and giant buses and cows and water buffalo and elephants and camels.
Right now, just hearing you talk about it, Jay.
Gazillions of motorcycles, small motorcycles and small cars, and it was just insane. I mean, we drove through one of the larger cities. It took 3 hours to get through there, and I happened to be driving that day, and you get squeezed in between buses and trucks and banged and hit and pushed, and you're constantly on your horn the whole time, and they want you to honk your horn so you know where people are. So if you hear somebody honking behind you, you know somebody's coming up.
Right.
So it's just the opposite over there. People are glad for you to honk your horn because then they know where you are and where you're going.
Right.
But, I was getting squeezed between two large vehicles and some bus, and the bus has hit my rear corner over here, and he's spinning me around, and I put it down into a low gear, to get out from underneath what was going on, and spun around in front of the bus just in time to run up underneath a camel. And this camel starts bucking and rearing all over the place, and I threw it in reverse and turned around and went, and it's just traffic everywhere.
That sounds scary. And your brother? Now, were you driving most of the time, or your brother?
We split it up.
Right.
Each day we took turns driving, and you couldn't drive more in the day doing that. It was so exhausting. And then going through the mountains, the roads just all but disappeared up in the mountains through the rainforest. Rain's coming down, waterfalls everywhere, washouts everywhere, buses and trucks and cars and everything off the side of these cliffs and off the side of roads. I've got pictures of all of these, calamities everywhere.
Right.
And we got lost at one time and driving at night. The whole electrical system failed. We had no lights. We had no windshield wiper, no horn.
Now, Jay, I've got to stop you for a second because I know viewers want to know this. Did you really make this trip, or you just have a great imagination?
I got pictures to prove it. No, I got pictures to prove it.
Pictures can be doctored pretty well. You brought these 3 pictures of you and your brother and kids in India, but did this really happen?
It really happened, and I understand that there's pictures all over the internet. There's videos all over the internet, including YouTube and Flickr.
Is that right?
You just just Google in or whatever the auto rickshaw rally, and there's stuff everywhere.
Of course, folks can go online to IndianARC.com.
Yes.
Still after the fact to see.
Yes, they have a number of photographs from that and videos, and there was a professional photographer who went along. There was a whole film crew that followed us all across India, so there's going to be a film on this.
Wow.
And not only that, but we were like heroes in India because everywhere we went, there were news teams and television cameras and newspaper reporters and taking pictures and interviewing people. And so all across India, people knew who we were and what we were doing.
Wow.
And
the
so
32 teams.
Yeah, and so everybody is waving and cheering, and when they found out who we were, they would help us because you are in one town location and you flag off at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and you are on your own till you arrive at the next destination. Some traveled as groups, most traveled individually, and you had to find your way from here to there. And we had maps, but most of these roads are not on a map, and you can't. And the road signs are either in Hindi or Arabic, and you can't understand what it is. And trying to communicate with people was difficult. And every state you went to was like a different country. They spoke completely different languages. We befriended one of the Indian film crew members, so he rode with us part of the way. And since we got crossed into another state, he couldn't speak the language. He's Indian, but he could not speak the language, and they could not talk to him. And then you go to the next state, and you go through police checkpoints, and you have to have paperwork to get from one state to another. It's like going from South Carolina to North Carolina, and you get stopped at the border up there, like crossing into a foreign country. And it's a different language.
Unbelievable.
So it was just insane. It was just
exciting. Well, of course, we want to focus on what your real purpose was of making the trip over there. There is a great shot, before we look at some of those photos, a great piece in a Express Features, a publication over there.
The New India Express was one of the newspapers that followed our progress, and the first day of the photographs and articles that came out, my brother and I were featured in that.
Sure.
And that's me sitting on front of our auto rickshaw.
Oh, yeah.
And that pose was actually sponsored by Miss World Hungary, who was one of the team members, and she was posing on the front of her rickshaw next to us, so I was sitting on the front of mine mimicking and making fun of her.
I love it.
And all the photographers came over and took a picture of me, so the next morning the picture of me shows up in the newspaper instead of her.
You're
so
kidding.
She came up and gave her conciliatory speech, so congratulations on being in the newspaper and everything. It was hilarious.
I love it. 70 contestants from all over the world began their 1,921-kilometer auto journey to reach Mumbai on August 17th. And, of course, here it is Jay Bultz, who lost his leg to bone cancer, and his brother Carl Bultz from South Carolina at the Mumbai Express Auto Rally. Quote, "We are here for the first time."
Yeah.
I love it. What a great piece. And to think that this was Monday, August 6th, right at the beginning of the...
we started Sunday the 5th, and those pictures and articles were done and appeared in the next day's newspaper.
I love it.
But all along, there were newspapers everywhere that, when we would break down, which was a lot, and we'd get lost or we'd run out of gas or whatever because we couldn't figure out how much gas we had and how much fuel consumption. And so villagers will all come out, and they recognize who we were, and they're waving these newspapers and pointing to pictures, and there's Carl and I in the picture.
Oh, you're kidding.
And so they all came out to help, and it was hard getting directions, but they just kind of point in that direction.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They just point. And you say, I speak that language,
Yeah, we could at least point, go that way.
Yeah.
And sometimes that was not the correct way, but at any rate. And we had to leave the route to go on different challenges. Each day they give us a challenge such as go to this particular location, go into this jungle, go to this temple, go inside this temple and look for this particular god or goddess and find out the name of or whatever.
Wow, really? That's part of the challenge.
Yeah, so it was many more miles than just that. I mean, and if you add in the times you got lost and had to backtrack too. But
unbelievable. Did you meet some new gods over there and goddesses?
Oh, everyone under the sun. It was amazing. Every time you turn around, there's another temple. Every neighborhood has its own temple.
Oh, my.
Every field has its own temple. There were giant temples that are just amazing, the most incredible things you could ever imagine.
Really?
Something straight out of Lord of the Rings. I mean, the same size and doors and grandeur and ancient, going back thousands of years. And I can tell you,
book on this.
Oh, no, there's so many adventures I could get on.
In the next J.R.R. Tolkien series, Jay and Carl.
It was insane, but just amazing. We climbed to the top of this mountain to one of the largest temple statues in the world. It was a Jain temple. It's been in National Geographic, and I got pictures of that and climbed. And it was difficult for me with my leg, but I managed to get up there. And it was so awe-inspiring to be in this temple on this mountain, thousands of years old, and this giant Jain statue of I forget the name of the god. I couldn't pronounce it anyway.
Right.
But I didn't take pictures. I was just so awe-inspired.
So yeah.
And I was also out of breath climbing up there, too.
Right. You and Carl. So there were 32 teams. How many American teams, Jay?
There's 4 of us.
Just 4 American teams?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned for a little while that the reporter, or the guy, the film crew guy that spoke a certain language, had gotten in with you a little bit. Did he actually get in the rickshaw?
He did. He rode with us.
For more than 2 in that thing?
Yeah. There's a lot of the teams were 3 people, 2 in the back and 1 driving in the front, and they would rotate.
Right.
Garl and I, just 2 of us. Our younger brother was supposed to go, but he couldn't make it at the last minute. So we had an extra space in there. And we became friendly with Dev, who was on the film team, and he rode with us here and there, as did some of the other backup crew. So some of the mechanic guys would ride with us, and so we got friendly with them. But we'd go to different states and they couldn't speak the language. And we thought it was great at the beginning, having someone who could speak the language and talk to the locals about where to find a mechanic shop to fix this. We lost 4th gear, then lost 3rd gear,
and you had to pay for those. I mean, you had to get that stuff.
Yeah, we had to survive. We had to figure out where to go and what to eat and where to find water and where to find food and where to find these temples and challenges and stuff.
Did they allow other Indians to compete, or would that have been too much of an unfair advantage in the challenge? I mean, were they all foreigner?
They were all. Yeah, there were no Indian. There are no specific
Indians
Indian
who really
teams.
knew about rickshaws.
Well, there were some Indians from other countries. That were participating, but no, they had no experience with rickshaws either. In fact, the flag off, the initial flag off out of this ancient school area, the big giant walls and a huge gate, ornate gate, one of the teams just got so excited they crashed into the gate and smashed up their vehicle. They never even made it out of the gate. But
is that right?
But there's a lot of accidents along the way, crashes with buses and trucks, and unfortunately one of the teams went off a cliff. One of the girls in that team got very seriously injured. The thing that saved them was just right where they went off the cliff, there happened to be a group of trees down below. They landed in the trees. Otherwise, it would have been hundreds and hundreds of feet down. So they were very lucky. We had a number of crashes and turnovers with other vehicles and rollovers and going off the side of the road and that kind of stuff, because these road conditions, especially going through the mountains, are just dangerous. I mean, you would expect to be going in mules with a mule pack in some of these places. And, and these giant trucks would come rumbling down these things, and they can't stop, and you got to get out of their way, and many of those trucks had gone off the side of the roads. I mean, we took pictures of just horrific wrecks down the sides of cliffs and off mountains and down ravines.
Jay, how did you and your brother find out about you and your brothers, since it was all three of you?
Yeah,
is that something you found out about, or Garl?
Garl's wife saw it on the internet and said, "Man, this looks like something crazy you guys would do."
Something that Jay would do,
yeah. Me, and she did it as a joke.
Yeah.
She said, "Take a look at this. This is insane." And my brothers and I got on the phone and said, I want to do this.